Truly hope everybody had a fantastic Black History Month, but one person who didn't is a former Black Panther who figured out that she is, in fact, a descendant of not slaves, but slave owners. Oh, you'll just do love to see somebody's worldview shaken directly to its core. Oh, it's just so adorable. Anyways, so who are we talking about? We're talking about Angela Davis. Oh my God, just a race grifter extraordinaire, having to rationalize that. Oh wait, no, wait, there's slavery in my past, but you're telling me my family owned them. Radical social justice Marxist and former member of the Black Panthers discovered that one of her ancestors arrived in the New World from England on the 1920 Mayflower expedition. Interesting timing on that one. In the Tuesday PBS episode Finding Your Roots, Lewis Gates Jr. interviewed Angela Davis, whom he said came to the show to have her mystery of her lineage solved. In the show's final moments, Gates revealed that the investigation into her ancestry dated back to the 10th great-grandfather, a white man named William Brewster. He was born in England in 1570 and traveled to America on the Mayflower. Visibly stunned, Davis said, "No, what? No, I can't believe this. My ancestors did not come here on the Mayflower. That's a bit too much to deal with right now. What? No." Davis emerged in California in the late 1960s as a prominent civil rights figure and a member of the Communist Party. Oh, well, see, those two things go together just so well, and now all of a sudden she starts pushing all of this CRT stuff? Wow, what a weird development of things. It isn't natural with all of these progressivist policies. Wherever you think that they will go, if given enough time, they will eventually get there. Davis, anyways, she continued to support radical far-left politics and is currently a professor at the University of California in Santa Cruz. Oh, see, that's so great. That's so great. Amid her social justice activism, it's just activism when, she was bombing places, or could have been charged in a RICO statute if she was a Black Panther because they were also bombing places in the 60s. Davis was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list for alleged involvement in an armed seizure of a Marin County courthouse in California that left 4 people dead, including a judge. And she's a tenured professor at UC Santa Cruz. Great, wonderful, fantastic. It had been shown that Davis purchased the guns used in the attack. And you didn't charge her with anything? Davis went into hiding, but was eventually arrested and charged with murder, kidnapping, and criminal conspiracy charges. She was in prison for 16 months. Yeah, cool, great. Before being released on bail and later acquitted by an all-white jury in 1972. Born in Jim Crow-era Birmingham, Alabama, Davis told Gates as she had always assumed that her ancestors were slaves. Yeah, but guess what? Wait a minute. You're telling me you got a professorship. You're telling me that you got to be a part of the elitist Black Panthers groups and you didn't think that you came from privilege? Come on now. Well, that's partially true on her grandmother's side. Oh, so her white grandfather was dabbling in the dark? Naughty him. She also descends from slave owners, a piece of information that runs contrary to the message of the current social justice movement for which Davis advocates. Well, she's just going to have to sit this round of indoctrination out while she just ponders her own whiteness. Davis has been a proponent of critical race theory, a variation of the concept put forth by German philosopher Karl Marx called critical theory. Which divides people between oppressors and the oppressed. Yeah, it's just basically communism. Justification for lazy people to try to guilt people who are a benefit to society to do all the work for them. Let's just call it what it is. You know it as much as I do. CRT is a variation of the theory which focuses on the concept of white supremacy, which Angela Davis is very much a part of, in that it labels white people as the oppressors and all other races as the oppressed, while blaming white people of today for slavery that took place in the past. Yeah, don't try to make it make sense. In March of 2021, a webinar held by the Legal Insurrection, a non-profit organization organization that examines government overreach policies. William A. Jacobson, a professor at Cornell Law School and president of Legal Insurrection, said the problem with CRT is that it reduces everything to what historically has been the single most divisive aspect of American society, which is race, and makes everything about race, and that makes the U.S. systematically racist. Yep, no, very good, because by addressing it in that way, I don't accept the premise of that, because you're falling into their frame. This is just commie fucking nonsense, and it should just be addressed as such. People, they used to own slaves, so why am I going to take the advice of somebody who is a descendant of something that they're trying to advocate for the abolishment of, and they're saying that, oh my god, America was built on slavery, and you were a part of it. Congratulations. Davis has spoken out against laws prohibiting the teaching of CRT in K-12 schools, countering that CRT has become a watchword for any conversation about racism, as a part of an effort to stop the engagement of the education of students in our schools about the history of this country and Americans and of the planet. She's also, by the way, a big proponent of the 1619 Project, and for those of you who don't know, and something that is getting a Netflix adaptation, something like that. So I figured, we might as well go over this nonsense, given one of its biggest backers' history has just been exposed for the world to see. Let's take a look at this. This comes from the American Institute for Economic Research. Why are you dissecting a piece of fiction is far beyond me, but like I said, you remember at the beginning there where I said peek that 1620, the Mayflower expedition, the 1619 Project. It just goes so perfectly together, so I guess we're going to be looking specifically at the descendants of Angela Davis in this. In the New York Times, 1619 Project entering a new phase of historical assessment when the paper published a scathing criticism by 5 well-known historians of the American Revolution and Civil War eras. The group included previous critics James McPherson, Gordon Wood, Victoria Bynum, and James Oakes, along with new signatures from Sean Willans. The newspaper's editor-in-chief, Jake Silverstein, then responded with a point-by-point rebuttal of the historians defending the project. It's like, bitch, it's all fucking made up. Why are you doing this? Each deserved to be taken seriously as a former part of the larger debate on the merits of the 1619 Project as a work of history and its intended use in K-12 classroom curriculum. See? It's not just theoretical nonsense. They're actually trying to teach this to your kids. While the project itself spans some 4 centuries. Oh my god. The person who wrote it's a real big brain. So to try to tackle a concept this lofty, holy, devoting substantial attention to racial discrimination against African Americans in the present day. But you had to analyze 4 centuries of discrimination in order to come up to a conclusion that Danny Glover made in the 1980s about how difficult it is for African Americans to get a cab. He didn't quite use those terms, but the camera's rolling and the microphone's catching the words that I say, so I need not elaborate any further. You already get the joke, don't you? The first is the lengthy introduction essay by Nicole Hannah-Jones, the Times columnist who edited the project and tried to get tenure at UNC Chapel Hill, and then they were like, nah, you're not good enough to be here. And then she's like, you're a racist. And they're like, would you like to be tenured? And she's like, nah, I just like to continue to push my grift around there. I wasn't serious about getting hired on by the writing department. They're like, all right, bet. Second is a contentious essay by the relationship between slavery and American capitalism by Princeton University sociologist Matthew Desmond. How should readers assess the competing claims of each group, seeing as they appear to be at bitter odds? The question is subject to multitude of interpretive issues raised, blah, blah, blah. Let's just get to the point. That's already fucking ponderous. Was the American Revolution fought in defense of slavery? No! No, it wasn't. It was fought over tea taxes, you tards. One of the most hotly contested claims of the 1619 Project appears that in the introductory essay by Nicole Hannah-Jones, who writes, one of the primary reasons the colonists decided to declare the independence from Britain was because they wanted to protect the institution of slavery. Yeah, because the UK had already abolished slavery, and then the second major country... UK was about to abolish slavery, and then the Americans picked it up not that long afterwards. So yeah, very interesting. They'd be fighting a war over something that they weren't all that concerned about in the grand scheme of things. Nicole Hannah-Jones cites the claim of 2 historical events. Oh, okay, cool, because that's all that you can say. Remember, you're analyzing a 400-year stretch, and all you could get was 2 significant points during a multi-year war. Good job. First is the 1772 British legal case of Somerset v. Stewart, which reasoned from English common law that a slave taken by his owner from the colonies to Great Britain would not legally be held against his will. England had never established slavery by positive laws, therefore Somerset was free to go. Okay. Yeah, but why would he leave? He still had a job to do. The second event she enlists is the late 1775 proclamation by Lord Dunmore, the colonial governor of Virginia, in which he offered freedom to slaves who would take up arms for the Loyalist cause against a stirring rebellion. The measure specified that it was appertaining to rebels only, thereby exempting any slaves owned by Loyalists. Okay, so shaky to begin with, to just cite a nebulous interpretation of one proclamation by one lord from the original 13 colonies and a British lawsuit? Like, come on, man. Jones argues that these 2 events revealed the British colonial rule presented an emerging threat to the constitution of slavery, thereby providing the impetus for slave-owning Americans to support independence. That's nice. There's a kernel of truth in Hannah-Jones' interpretation of these events. A kernel of truth. Wow, okay. Somerset's case is traditionally seen, okay, cool, as a starting point of Britain's own struggle for emancipation, and Dunmore's proclamation certainly provoked the ire of slave owners in the southern colonies. Okay. Curiously unmentioned in the dispute is a much clearer case of how the Loyalist cause aligned itself with emancipation, albeit in a limited sense. Yeah, shucks. It's almost like it wasn't about slavery at all. Much noted, Hannah-Jones' argument must be assessed against the broader context of British emancipation. It is here that the 5 historians gain the stronger case. First, despite both its high symbolic importance and later use in the case precedent, the Somerset ruling was only narrowly applied as a matter of law. It did not portend impending emancipation across the empire, nor did its reach extend to either the American colonies or the West Indian neighbors, where a much larger plantation economy still thrived. Yeah, crap. So that one falls directly on its face. Sucks to suck, I guess. What do you have to say about that one point? The American Revolution was all about slavery. Historians have a clear upper hand in disputing the portrayal that the American Revolution as an attempt to protect slavery from British-instigated abolitionism. Britain itself remained several decades away from abolition at the time of the Revolution. Hannah-Jones's argument nonetheless contains kernels of truth. It's just absolute fucking bullshit. Yes, kernels of corn in a mountain of manure. Congratulations, you got it. Was Abraham Lincoln a radical colonizationist or exaggerated egalitarian? Nope, he was a radical tyrant, and Razorfist has a wonderful hour-long video on that one, so fuck Abe Lincoln. Did slavery drive America's economic growth and the emergence of American capitalism? Well, capitalism was already thriving around the rest of the developed world, and if slavery is integral to the development of emerging economies, why ain't the Middle East doing shit with all the slaves that they have? Just wondering. A boy can ponder, I guess. 5 historians directly challenged the historical accuracy of Desmond's thesis, which was the main thrust of the article holds that slavery was a primary driver of American economic growth in the 19th century. Oh, that's wonderful and fantastic. Infused its brutality into American capitalism today. That's wonderful and fantastic. He argued against the Republican Party's position on healthcare, taxation, and labor regulation in the present day. Okay. By presenting supposed direct connections between slavery and the modern corporate practices, they have so far failed to establish any empirical veracity or reliability of these claims, and have been seriously challenged by other historians. Yes, of course, each of these criticisms rings true. Yeah, it's almost like it's complete fucking nonsense. This one goes conclusively for the 5 historians. Wow, imagine that. Echoing other critics, the historian points to serious and substantive defects with Matthew Desmond's thesis about the economics of slavery. Yeah, no shit. But what's the number 4 that they want to be teaching in your schools? Did the 1619 Project seek adequate scholarly guidance in preparing its work? Yeah, I looked up some historical law cases. Like, come on, man, it did some pretty good work. And they talked to a bunch of racists with clear biases and some former slave owners like Angela Davis. The historians have a valid complaint about the deficiencies of scholarly guidance in the 1619 Project's treatment of the period before the American Revolution and the Civil War. Ah, futz. It's almost like the 1619 Project is complete fucking nonsense purported and promoted by slavers. And we don't listen to slavers around here because people who try to prop up the American capitalistic pig system, we will fight to abolish it all. So, with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.